Going live. Can't find the video. There it is.
Just play mine.
No, never. Losing viewers too.
I can only do so much.
I really wish you could do more. Oh, Lord.
At least on my channel, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are growing. That's great. I'm really
No,
happy
we're not.
for you.
We're not.
Oh, okay. I don't know why, man. Those commercials are fantastic and all that stuff.
Yeah. I was pretty proud of my Bro Light beer.
Yeah, that was impressive. You should be like a marketing executive. Yeah. I felt that one. Gets quiet.
Yeah, it does.
It really does. I haven't seen most of those people in months. Except for the beautiful Mark with a C. Great guy. Everybody else hates me. I mean, is busy. It's awesome. It's awesome. I hope everybody keeps growing. I'm really proud of everybody.
I can't wait until I can leave you.
Yeah, I mean, I know. It's a matter of time, buddy. It's a matter of time.
If I can just get to that next tier.
You're going to get there. You're going to get there because I'm a stepping stone for everyone. So don't you worry. That's why I am a YouTuber, because it's not that I'm that good. It's just I'm like the springboard. There was like a movie where if you hooked up with this one dude, women would get
Good luck, Chuck.
Good luck, Chuck. I'm like good luck tube. Like you come on and all of a sudden a year later you're killing it. So
That's not true.
No,
I've been here for years.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, it kind of sucks. All right, everybody, welcome to The Dump. How are you tonight? We're going to be talking Target, another go woke, go broke, actually working, I guess, people boycotting. But first, we'll probably talk about The Flash. But before we do that,
Did you hear about the big cameo in it?
No.
That the director let loose?
I didn't, but let me introduce you first, and then that's what we call a tease, everybody. So you got to stay here, please. But we got the fantastic Mad Barber Entertainment CEO, Mad Cheesemo. What's up, man?
Hello.
How are you?
I am excellent.
Great. I'm feeling the energy
Having
tonight.
a little bit of an eye issue.
Oh, a little twitch or something, or stigma?
It's a contact thing.
Oh, that sucks. Never did the contacts. But we have somebody, I believe, who has 20/20 vision, society reviews, and bounding into comics writer, Jacob. How are you, sir?
Hey, everyone's the YouTuber's YouTuber. I'm just your friendly neighborhood Native American one-legged deaf superhero who's possibly gay, coming to Disney Plus this for December.
Yeah, really look at, and it's going to be a binge model. They're going to drop them all at once.
Didn't they have to reshoot the entire fucking show?
That's pretty much everything.
Quick little background story, just in case you didn't know. Echo was a character who was introduced in the Disney Plus series Hawkeye, which ran about 6 episodes back a couple of years back as well. And they decided that, hey, we need to be authentic because, hey, it's 2023. We have to be progressive. So we need to get someone who characterizes the character perfectly. So let's get a real Hispanic, not Native American, or maybe half Native American. It's not very clear. But let's get a real deaf, one-legged woman who has never acted in her life to play this character. And then a year later, it's like, hey, let's give her own Disney Plus show. And then in the course of filming said Disney Plus show, they realized, oh, she can't act.
Well, I mean how hard is it
to deliver all your
lines?
lines like...
Well, you don't even do that. You're like...
You like literally you booked an entire series based around a woman who has never acted in her life, who can't speak, who can't act.
What I say is they just do the whole series, like do 12 episodes in silence. Nothing.
Oh, it's all from her POV.
Silent
all from her. Exactly. How are you, Jane? Would you watch a POV of Echo?
Honestly, it would probably be better than what they're writing today,
That's
depending
true.
upon the situation, I suppose.
That is true.
Hey,
I
I mean,
don't hate the character. They can't seem to get anything right that they do lately, even if
Right.
it's just simple and they have it right in front of them.
yeah. All the writer's strike, they couldn't put all the episodes of Echo on the same day unless they were confident in it. I mean, look, like I said, this whole thing's a mess. And according to the article we wrote a few weeks back, is that the story is that they wrote it. I mean, they shot it and then they realized the show sucked, so they had to reshoot the entire thing. And you can only imagine what the best second effort of this monstrosity is going to end up being.
Well,
But how do they not storyboard anymore?
No. Jane, you're thinking about story. They hired a woman who couldn't act and gave her her own show.
yeah.
But
I mean, that happens. That happens.
Like-
But don't
like-
you plot out the season at least with the storyboard?
I mean, you're talking about a storyboard. You think, can we get someone who can actually act before we give her an entire show?
Instead of Echo, they should have Edwin.
You're
they
talking
didn't
about people.
audition her?
No.
How many
Who was he
auditions
gonna
are
go
there?
against?
Yeah, one-legged, deaf, checkbox minority. You probably they'll show that she's either like bisexual or gay in the show. That's why the guy never like hooked up with her, because she was always like, "You're not woman enough for me." I don't know, but
Oh yeah, she definitely won't be straight.
no. I mean, they're doing that with the Bard on, I guess, on The Witcher. He'll be a bisexual and they're gonna have like a scene making
Wait.
sure you definitely
Yeah,
know it.
Dandelion.
Now, hold on a second. Is scissoring easier when you only have one leg? Like, is that?
I don't know if that's scissoring or it might be something else. We'll have to think of that one.
Lord.
Yeah, there's two articles I was going to, both by Spencer from Bounding Into Comics. Spencer did write the fantastic article about me, so he's always welcome here. But we have
Someone
this.
has to like him.
We have this one just to bring up what you were saying. Every character now. Rumor Netflix,
Are
The Witcher
you
season 3 to
serious?
confirm. Yeah, Jasker as bisexual.
Okay,
Well,
wait. Stop.
yeah.
Okay, wait. Here's the
prince.
problem I have.
Okay.
Haven't they been complaining about toxic masculinity and how men need to be able to have a safe environment to be vulnerable and emotional and not like super masculine? So you have a male finally who's like that,
Yeah.
and you immediately make him gay.
Right, because he can't be straight.
He can't just be straight and sensitive or
Yeah.
Because if he wasn't straight, he'd be the villain.
Well, no, because it used to be if he was straight, he was just British, because they have that, that feel,
Yeah,
that
they're all
sensitive
gay.
feel. Yeah, well, no, I wouldn't say that, but they were metrosexual before
Right,
that was
the
a
metro
thing.
thing.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
You could be that. And their biggest complaint was that men didn't feel comfortable being that. They
Yeah.
always had to be really super, hardcore.
Right.
And so you get a guy who's finally that. He's a different kind of masculine, right?
Mhm.
And you can't just let that stand
Right.
Nope.
and let him exist and be straight and be a man and be, the opposite of the every other male pretty much in this show.
And don't
Who's hyper masculine.
forget for the first 2 seasons, he's been very flirtatious with only women. Like
Right.
from what
Well-
I remember.
Let's not also remember that this was the season that they're gonna stick to the books, except for this, and they're also gonna have to change everything about the Prince Radovid.
Well, no,
because-
they weren't going to stick to the books because I believe that was something Quentin Tarantino was talking. Oh no, maybe that was Bond. That was Bond. Stick to the books. So I apologize. I was thinking of a different article.
But no, this was the season where they're like, no, season 3, we stick to the books.
Yeah, that
Small time republic said stapling.
I know that's a good one. We'll call it
So
stapling.
dumb.
But the other article is you have somebody who is considered an
Well-
A-lister because she's a superhero, actress, but she.
Hold on, real quick before you jump
Yeah.
into this one. I have a quick little note on the other one. Keep in mind, this is Netflix, by the way, so this all roads lead back to Netflix. With all of these diversity quotas and whatnot, the report that came out just a few weeks ago that Netflix has now confirmed that 60 to 65% of all of their content on the streaming app is led by female protagonists, and about 30% of those are all led by female directors too. So that's one etch on the quota. And then on the other side, as we said, the GLAAD CEO Sarah Kate Ellis said that she wants 50% of all TV and movies to be represented by an LGBTQ character by next year. So literally half of everything that you watch.
So less than 12%, we'll say, of the population, but it has to be 50% because it's Hollywood.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's not even.
And honestly, it's probably way less than 12 if we're being really
like
honest.
3.
Yeah.
It's 3%, I think. Well, it was. I think Gen Z, the younger Gen Z, are increasingly more.
The problem is that they keep adding stuff to the LGBTQ to the point that, everyone's like, I totally identify with this now.
Yeah. But Jane, you showed us that graph maybe a couple weeks ago where it showed the jump from, boomers to, Xers to now, millennials and then Gen Z. It was huge.
A huge leap with Gen Z. And I'm sure Alpha is going to be even worse. Right. Because of social contagion. Like, these kids don't know what they are anymore. And so all of them identify as queer. And that's part of the problem with this, is they're trying to make it real life 50%. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the underlying agenda. The more you can put that imagery out there, the more you can make people believe that that is in fact the norm. Yep. And a lot of these things are geared toward young kids. It's young adult stories.
Yeah.
So they know exactly who they're targeting.
We're living in an age now where these kids that are growing up now are having this stuff shoved in their face at a rate that no other generation in history had it shoved down their face before. And if you think it's bad now, it's only going to get worse, because guess what next month is, people? Yay, Pride Month, which means that all the corporations are going to triple down on everything. Everything that's aimed towards kids is going to triple down on it. Like, it's only going to get worse from here. But they don't want you to believe that there's any correlation between the fact of propaganda and the actual explosion of this community, quote unquote.
The problem is a lot of Gen Zers, parents are Gen Xers. So, and the older Gen X group is not as savvy sometimes with the social media and things like that, keeping up. Because we used to, all right, your teacher's going to teach you. They didn't realize their teachers were teaching them different things with this agenda that this radical side of the left has. And the problem is I think now people are starting to realize, because it's so in our face, and I think I really hope that Bud Light was the watermark where people were finally like, look at what's happening with Target. We're going to go over that later. Like, we don't want it anymore. You're not going to push your agenda on our children without our permission. And the problem is that the only ones that have a voice right now are the whack jobs.
Yeah. I think it's going to be Target that does it, because they went too far when they put the stuff in the children's section.
Yes, way too far.
I think went way over the line. Yep. Especially because we're talking not just like rainbow T-shirts, but they were prints.
Well, it's
words on them.
It's not only that, but as we've seen over the course of the last year, especially the kids, people do not like having stuff that they do not approve of pushed towards their children. Look what happened with Disney over the course of the last year. This should have been the first warning sign. But like I said, these people don't care about the warning signs. These are multi-billion-dollar mega corporations who don't care if they win or lose. All they care about is that we push the message along the way. And this is exactly what we're doing right now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's something that, again, if I lose, the support of one of the tubes pushing my channel, I have to, as a father, I feel like I have to speak out against this stuff and have people on that don't look exactly like me that also speak out about it, because you have people like The View that pretty much call anyone, Joy Behar pretty much called, was it Tim Scott, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. What
she pretty much called him Clarence Thomas, which she really meant to say is he's an Uncle Tom, because he's a sellout. And what she was saying was, because they believe in pull yourself up by your bootstraps, and that's not what the black community should be thinking about. They should be thinking about, their victims, because, a old white Italian woman really knows what she's talking about. When
first of all, if you watch The View in 2023, like, you have an IQ that's well below 70 at this point. There's just no way about it. I mean,
you're brainwashed.
Yeah, no one can watch that unironically at this point. And then
Yes.
like I said, we're just gonna whitewash the meaning of absolutely everything. Did you guys hear the story? I think it was like earlier this week, or maybe like a little bit last week, about the supposed white supremacist who drove a U-Haul truck near the White House, and they found a Nazi flag, and then come to find out the guy's name was like Saeed Radu or something like that. Like clearly a foreigner from Islamic descent, but they described them in the headlines as white supremacists. So
I gotta say, man, the recruiting effort that's been put on by these white supremacists is really diverse in their targeting.
Dude, they've taken the Muslims, they've taken the Mexicans, they've taken the Cubans, black people. Like, they're more diverse than their opposition now. It's like, surprising.
I will say this: there was a group called Stormfront. Now, so I don't know if they're still around, but one of the things, they were white nationalists. One of the things they did, in fact, try to do was promote that message of racial superiority in different countries around the world, including the Middle East, where they felt like there was an Aryan pure race still there. And so they did appeal to that and to
I think with Muslims though, I think with Muslims though, it's not really as much as the racial aspect of it that appeals to them more than the anti-Semitic portion of it.
Right.
That probably appeals to them more. So yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow, Jane, that is
this is the numbers I'm talking about. This is insane.
This isn't being bigoted. That's terrifying to think about, that there's kids out there that are so confused that the message has pushed them to think, oh, maybe I am. Because
remember that myth that we were pushing a couple years ago, like, oh, Gen Z is the most conservative generation we've seen in years. It's like, that didn't pan out very quickly, did it?
Right. That is pretty funny. And the sad thing is these kids will realize in 15, 20 years that you mostly become a little more conservative. Even if you're on the left, you become a little more conservative on that side. As you become a parent, start paying taxes. That's the thing. That's the question though, is are they going to become parents? Because on the one hand, you have these kids being convinced that they're not their gender. Right. They're getting in relationships with people who are technically their same gender, even though maybe they're not socially. I don't even know. But they're creating this, and then not to mention the younger ones who are being sort of caught up in this whole trans thing. They're not going to have healthy relationships, right, with people of the actual opposite sex to even have children, and that's assuming they haven't sterilize themselves.
Well, I mean, you're off to a bad start if you're struggling to identify, wait, what's the opposite sex?
Right, exactly. That's what they want.
I think you all were knocking on the door of a bigger problem here. It's like, you can look at this whole LGBTQ agenda thing as one thing being an outright rebellion of God, but you can also look at it from the big elephant in the room of this is the fact that, hey, look, we're knocking on the door of population collapse, because now when this community gets bigger, people are not reproducing naturally, and then guess what? On the flip side of that, we're also encouraging younger kids to not have kids, because having kids is bad for climate change, it's bad for the environment. Why would you want to have so many kids? Wait until your 40s or 50s.
Well, we're already at a decisive time where population growth might be an issue if people don't start having kids.
Like always, the Japanese come in to save the day because they are 5 years away from being able to produce humans without anything.
Right. Amen. Power of God.
It's a real thing that's happening.
It's a real thing.
I mean, it's kind of weird. It's kind of weird when you have these super elites who go on these forums. You can always call them world forums if you want to, and say things like, yeah, we want to depopulate the planet and get rid of the larger number of you. Well, how can we do that without firing bullets at people? It's like, here you go.
Yeah. I mean, it's terrifying. But I don't want to change. Well, I am, but I'm going to get back to just this, and then we're going to talk about the other two topics that I will actually I put in the title, because we never do that. But Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness star Elizabeth Olsen admits Marvel sequel suffered from constant rewrites. There's a point in making the movie where I just stopped reading drafts. Like they were writing this on the fly, man, because it's the social climate probably, and they're like, oh God, we got to change this and that. And
well, no, they gave the dude a week or 2 weeks for him to write it in the first place. before they started.
If you remember, what actually happened here was that Scott Derrickson and C. Robert Cargill was supposed to come back and do the second one because they did the first, but they wanted to do a actual horror themed MCU film.
Right.
But Disney essentially didn't want them to do that. They want them to follow the script, quote unquote. So they left the project altogether, both the writer and the director, and went on to do the Black Phone instead. So Disney was left at the last minute having to find a new writer and director for this movie. So that's why there were so many rewrites, because Disney basically screwed over the original guys in charge.
Tina, feel free if you like to jump on. So the thing is well, then we'll have two girls. That's so crazy.
I don't care for that at all.
I know. That's why I'm doing it.
We're screwing up the ratio, as Ethan Van Sciver likes to say.
What's up, Walton? If you guys are not subscribed to Stephen Walton, his 2 channels, he has 2 different ones that he will add here in the chat. He's killing it lately. I think he might actually have more than me now combined, which isn't hard. The Scarlet Witch actress opened up about the film screenplay woes during a recent appearance on the May 24th episode of the entertainment journalist Josh Horowitz' Happy, Sad, Confused podcast. Per a recap of the episode provided by Comic Book News, Olsen was at one point asked by her host if she had any thoughts on the film's final cut compared to the original script. She went on to say it resembled more than I thought it was going to. I mean, there were definite moments where there's a point in making the movie where I just stopped reading drafts. I was just like, this is going to change again. Just keep me posted with the information I need, and you guys fill in the blanks that you need. But I'll just keep my lane. That one was a wild ride. And I mean, for her to speak out and say that, they must have been changing stuff nonstop.
But why don't you write the movie before you start shooting it?
Well, it sounds like they did, and then it was just a place setter pretty much, and they just went ahead. Because I know, like, okay, you took Doctor Strange out of WandaVision because you didn't want him, you know, a white male to overshadow her. So all those commercials really didn't make sense because they were actually him trying to contact her and warn her, you know, like, what are you doing? You know, and then you try to, if you didn't watch WandaVision, were you going to understand this movie? Like, all of a sudden Wanda's evil, you know, it was just a dumb movie. And I can't imagine what the original was. I would love to see that. How you doing, Tina?
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Yep. How are you?
I'm doing well. Just got off a fun stream with author Stephen Walton and woke up to an amazing stream this morning from Jane. So it's been a good day.
Those morning ones are great.
That was fun.
And can I say, Walton, his new like Rogue, right? This was a Rogue thing.
Mm-hmm.
This new group is really, really good. You guys are doing great over there. So congrats and keep growing it, Walton. What do you think about this rewriting? You know, what Olsen said here, Tina, because it's pretty, that's not how you make movies. Like, this is why I think it's all sucked. And I don't know if they're writing it because they're worried, oh, will that offend somebody? Let's change this. I don't know. What do you think?
I think it's a major issue. And I think one of the first of the Disney Plus series that was impacted by this was of course WandaVision.
Yeah.
Because it was just they rewrote it to to remove all the other characters they were going to bring in because they didn't want anybody saving Wanda and all that other baloney. And ever since then, I mean, they rewrote the Falcon and the Winter Soldier one because of the fact, because heaven forbid we talk about the shots that are you're required to get as a child,
right,
in order to go anywhere. I mean, it's really scary. And now because they're trying to deflect any bad press, they're just producing stuff that doesn't appeal. Yeah, they're producing garbage. It doesn't appeal to a broad audience. I can find enjoyment out of pretty much anything that Marvel puts together in the MCU world. But I mean, that's because I like these characters, and I like to see that type of entertainment on television now. But I completely sympathize with everybody else's frustration and in some cases utter disgust with the MCU. And I don't blame Elizabeth Olsen from saying, hey, listen, you know, if you have any control over your contracts, I mean, only sign on for the first movie, because I understand MCU not wanting to end up where they were with the RDJ issue, where, you know, they pay them $500,000 for the first movie. It's a hit, and now it costs them, you know, hundreds of millions to keep them on board for 20 years.
Right.
But she also assumes that these smaller actors and actresses actually have a choice in any place to negotiate from, to say, yeah, I'll only do one movie.
Yeah, no, they don't. They're newcomers. I mean, think about it. Robert Downey Jr. was a crapshoot with him because of the way his career was. And if it wasn't for Iron Man and the Sherlock Holmes, he might have been
no. Kiss, kiss, bang, bang, bro.
Well, he was great in that. Yes, you're right. You're right. But for I would say that was a less of a blockbuster movie than.
No, I'm saying to get him into the door for Iron Man, that was Kiss, Kiss, Bang, Bang. Without it,
right?
It
was that got him both. I thought Sherlock Holmes and.
I think
he was also really good.
Iron Man.
He's also a really good friend with Favreau. And Favreau really went to bat with the studio over the fact that it was going to cost him so much to insure RDJ for the film. That's kind of why his salary was so low, because they paid more to the insurance company than they did to him.
Well, he did something that a lot of people won't do today. He bet on himself, and others bet on him as well.
Yeah,
you know, he took that low because I think they all felt like it could be a big thing.
Yeah.
And also, I think they should pay these actors what they're worth. I mean, when you're making $1 billion+ off of their movie, if it turns out to be a hit with the film and marketing, merchandising, and all this other stuff, the world over, pay them their money. Like, I don't see why they're so afraid of renegotiating with these actors. I actually don't think that he asked for too much. I think he probably asked for too little, considering what they made off of him.
I mean, he was the first 10 years of the Marvel universe. He was that's why the final scene with him was the most powerful in Endgame. You know, it was his franchise pretty much for 10 years with Chris Hemsworth and the other one. You know, Chris Hemsworth wasn't a well-known actor.
Right.
You know, so like they got him. Was it because they got these guys and they got so big so fast that they were able to ask for more money? They're grabbing these kids and giving them shitty contracts. Like, I don't know. But all I know is the girl from Miss Marvel, it was not made for me, but she did a great job with what they gave her. You could tell she loved the character. She had fun with it. You know, it was better than Falcon and the Winter Soldier, where you have two great actors just walking through it. And WandaVision, I was hooked for the first 3 episodes, and it was like, whatever.
It seems like they knew that they had to invest a lot of time and energy and work into actually getting those early stories right to get the audience hooked. Right. And once they had us, I mean, it was over from there. But the problem is these days, they're not really doing that. They're just throwing things together. They're throwing scripts together. They don't seem to be caring much about the content. They just care about getting it on the screen and saying they did it.
Yeah, it turned into that. Like, it's almost like the Disney, you know, what they wanted to do with Star Wars, a movie every year. You know, like, just pump it out. And that's not what these franchises are for. Yeah. True fans will wait years for a great movie. They will wait years and then buy every, you know, action figure, the posters, the book, everything after that.
But you remember when they were online? I forget which one of these crazy Hollywood people it was, but they were actually making fun of fans for buying merchandise and toys and stuff. And it's like, you do know that's where the money is, right?
Right. And George Lucas taught everybody that.
You don't get it.
No, they don't. They don't. But yeah, I guess the creative move would result. So they talked about Sam Raimi's decision once they hired him on to make her the villain. The creative move would result in a bevy of reshoots, which according to American Chavez actress Gomez, were so extensive that when all was said and done, the film's opening sequence was completely different compared to how it was originally written by, that was Scott Dickerson, right? Who wrote the original draft. Yeah, so it was
he
like
wrote the first film too. So
Right.
I mean, Cargill wrote the first film, and he also directed the first one.
okay. All right, I didn't realize that. In the film's most notorious change, Kevin Feige drove a stake through the film's attempt at continuity when he made the decision to cut a cameo from Benedict Cumberbatch, Doctor Strange and WandaVision, in order to avoid diverting attention away from the complicated female character in favor of a white male. Some people might say, oh, it would have been so cool to see Doctor Strange, but I wouldn't have taken away from Wanda, says Marvel boss to the Rolling Stones guy.
So so we don't want Doctor Strange to take away from Wanda in her TV show, but we'll let Wanda take away from Doctor Strange in his movie.
Right, it was her movie pretty much. We didn't want the end of the show to be what is that? Commoditized to go to the next movie. Here's the white guy. Let me show you how power works. Like, it's not here's the white guy. Here is somebody who is the freaking Sorcerer Supreme with a woman who's just realizing she's more powerful than she really was. You know, like, it just, she doesn't even remember seeing her power when it was first created, like becoming the Scarlet Witch.
They reduce these characters down to that. Like, they don't see them as human beings anymore, and they don't try to understand the relationship that they should have with one another. It's like they have this principle now that a woman cannot be taught, guided, follow, or fall in love with a male. And that's it. That is what they're, no matter what the story, no matter what the background, no matter what the context, that is how it is now going forward. With that structure, it's going to change and affect everything, every existing IP they're trying to adapt.
Well, it also impacts the corporate environment too, Jane, in the sense that, you know, most men in leadership roles will not mentor women because it's too risky.
Well, I was going to say that's probably another reason why we're having this upcoming population collapse. It's like we're not even doing romance anymore. If we are portraying romance, it's not heterosexual romance. So
yeah,
people don't even know what it looks like when they see it anymore.
I didn't know this one until I read the article just now, that the Charlize Theron cameo was a haphazard thrown together mid-credit scene at the end. Because
didn't feel like it.
It didn't feel like it at all, right? I mean, like at the very end of the movie, it seemed like the third eye was very painful and something. He was actually a different Sorcerer Supreme, and then all of a sudden he was like, "Hey, I'm fine." But the thing that blows my mind is they didn't, no apparent thought given to the MCU, her in the MCU future. So it was like, it used to be that you stayed to watch those mid-credit and end-credit scenes because it had something to do with either the next movie or the franchise going on. Now it's something where she doesn't even know if she's playing that role ever again. How dumb is that to even do to the fans?
I wonder if that's legitimate, or if I wonder if that has anything to do with the fact that they don't even know if they're going to have their villain for the next Avengers movie, because we still don't know what's going on with Jonathan Majors. Even when everyone behind the scenes is saying that he's pretty much done at this point until said otherwise. So if they have to blow up this whole idea with Kang, then yeah, they might have to end whatever they were planning on doing with Doctor Strange and Throne in the future films anyway. So
right. I just want everybody to know the Shagsworth is watching live on Rumble right now, and he was saying I was white-splaining before, and then he also said top-notch recruiting for the panel tonight, and he's always welcome on too, the Shags. We were supposed to have the beautiful Zax as a guest tonight, even though he's always welcome on the panel, but he's, he has other things going on because he's, more important. That's fine. It's fine. We have some beautiful people in the chat tonight. Yeah, I don't know. It's just you took something
I want to know who came up with the ending for. I mean, were they watching Secret of the Ooze and they're like, I know, we'll have Wanda defeat herself like Shredder did. I was trying to find my clip that I have.
Well, it's the thing how, remember, like afterwards, it's like, well, she's really like a sympathetic villain. She's not like a real bad guy, even though she murdered like multiple people, countless people, and cold blood, innocent people too, by the way. But we can't have her get her comeuppance where somebody brutally takes her out.
Yeah, you have a very Doe Baffett has a very interesting thing. Like all these have been Snorefest. The Harry Styles one, the Charlize Theron. I don't remember the Ted Lasso. Which Ted Lasso dude was it in Thor 4? Because I don't even really remember that movie that well.
Oh yeah.
It's
I
not
know
the
who it is, but I
main
forgot
guy,
his
right?
name.
It's not the
No.
main guy. It's the other guy who I'm the older
You're the one
soccer
that
player.
talk like this.
Yeah. I'm the one who's a rough and tumble veteran.
Ugh.
It's just
But-
one of those-
I don't like them in season 1.
right.
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's Boba Fett, our good buddy Boba Fett, just here, and I just want to
That's
we
why I
went
said Boba
4.
Fett.
No, yeah, it's totally what you said. But no, we've been like 4 years removed from Endgame, and they were only just now starting to put together their pieces to the next Avengers movie, only for that to immediately blow up in their face right out of the gate. So they're talking about they had no plan for this little scene. They've had no plan for like the last 5 years.
Yeah, and it shows. But to put people in end credits, not guaranteeing that they're going to be in the next movie or a following movie is really dumb. I don't even know how you could do that.
They're stupid. They have no sense at all.
Let's be honest, they only have after credit scenes or mid credit scenes only because they have to at this point.
Yeah.
It's been their tradition for
expected.
the last 15 years. Yeah.
Tradition.
Yeah. Well, we have Juan Wang for an Aussie $5. Charlize Theron does look like the woman villain in the Cosmic Egg arc in the Marvel Comics panel. Please rib Sporking for getting my name. Damn it, my name wrong. Damn it. Thanks. Thank you for the 5. Shit, I always do. And then he puts it like, what do they say? It's not hyphenetically. I don't even know the word.
That's how much faith he had on you getting it right. That he wrote it in there knowing you would screw it up.
Yeah, they definitely knew. I suck. Yeah, Marvel is done. And if James Gunn even if he stays away from what, the agenda and does just good films, even though people are pissed.
If you're hoping to get that out of James Gunn.
I know. But if he was smart, again, I know I'm answering my own questions, but he would, he has said he's going back to the all-American, boy from Kansas, Superman. Is there a chance?
As a wise man once said, keep holding your breath. Your ass going to suffocate.
Yeah. And this whole Charlize Theron was great until she hit the wall. She hit the well, but it all went to her brain. The thing about her is they've been trying to make her an action hero
She
for the
Forever.
last 10 years.
I think she was great in that one movie that was based on the comic.
Atomic Bomb or Atomic something.
No, it was a
Oh, was it Air on Flux or something like that?
Oh, Eon Flux.
I like that one too, but no.
Which was just funny because she did an interview years later saying how that film almost ruined her career. So,
The old guard.
That was good.
I hated that
skipped
movie.
That shit.
I didn't mind it. I didn't mind it.
I loved it.
Ooh, we have to argue one day because that was like my top. It had to be some of my top 10 worst movies
I
that
just-
year.
I would like
Yeah.
to see a follow-up to see why didn't you like it?
It was.
Girls.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Icky.
that
That was me.
Well, like I said, this is the thing with Netflix. Netflix does this thing where they want to get like one big star and then surround them with a bunch of people who can't act, thinking that, this person, this random no name will be good because we put her in a movie with Charlize Theron. I like to call it the Jamie Foxx disease over there in Netflix. So you have a bunch of unqualified actors in a very, very crappy movie that was uber woke to be on top of that. So yeah, nothing worked about that movie at all.
I didn't see that. I get your point about the new actors who aren't that great, but
Yeah.
everybody needs their start, and I feel like it was decent. Their performances were fine. I like the relationship between the characters. I like the concept. Like it's a very
It was a good idea.
story idea.
Yeah,
I
And
gotta
I like
introduce
those
you.
kinds of worlds where you have this sort of these beings or whatever life force allows them to live forever. Like that's so
Oh.
cool to me as a concept. It didn't pull me in. I like the
Jane,
world
I
building.
have to introduce you to a little mock film called Infinity or
Oh,
Infinite.
Was
That's
that good?
another-
I liked Infinite.
I didn't watch
What?
it yet.
That shit
I
was
liked it.
bananas, Jane.
I loved it.
Is Marky Mark playing a
You
guy
see-
who has like a Boston-ish
He's
accent
like, what? No.
and talks softly? You know?
But see, here's the problem
They
with.
start with 5 points ahead for me.
But here's the problem with the everyone needs their start mentality is that you end up getting shows like Echo.
Yeah.
Okay, but here's the problem with Echo. The difference is apparently she is is carrying the show. Like she is the star, right?
Yeah,
like, you don't do
true.
That.
That's true.
You don't do that part. You could introduce her as a side character in somebody else's show and let her get her little bearings or something. But you don't you don't give her the title role.
I'm telling you, man, they should do
keys
it
to the
POV.
castle.
Give her 12 episodes POV filming, so everything, no words. It's like a silent movie. You can't even hear her thoughts. It's just no wind, maybe wind and rustling stuff, but other than that, no.
It's like I want to say, well, it can't possibly be worse than She-Hulk, but I feel like every time I say that, they take it as a challenge rather than.
They really do. Zombie Box
She-Hulk
review
was made for me. She-Hulk was made for me.
Oh, Tina, bad takes.
It's made from somebody.
Zombie Box Review became a Spoon member, so thank you very much. Yes, I have memberships on right now, and you can become a member. Send a super chat, do anything you want, because it really, you notice the change when they demonetize you and then you come back. So thank you for becoming a member again. I really appreciate that, man. It means a lot to me.
Get it together.
Yeah,
I stayed a member. I was a member when there wasn't any.
And I appreciate that.
Probably,
and
I don't know.
I don't know either, but you run more streams than I do on my own channel, so thank you. Thank you very much. But yeah, She-Hulk was terrible. Tina, come on.
It was so bad.
It was so bad, Tina.
It was so great.
It was so bad. It was fun.
Amazing.
I mean, it reflected the corporate environment 30 years after the corporate environment was like that. So that's why I'm the only one who appreciated it.
I'm old enough to remember it.
You know what's so bad is actually good? Last night we did a movie night. We watched the original Dolomite film from 1975.
Down
so
deep.
good.
That's a movie that's so bad it's good.
So good. I don't think it's bad. It's just good.
I've never seen Dolomite, but I always think of House Party, the original one, because the father screams up. Why kids naming people naming their kids these crazy names?
God, please let's not talk about House Party because I still have
The
PTSD
original
from
one.
that one that came out early. Yeah, it's still my number one worst movie so far this year.
Did you see White Men Can't Jump? The
I have not yet.
I'm
That's
about
so
halfway
bad.
through. It's not that bad. It's not funny. There's a couple of moments, but it's not disrespectful to the original thus far.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm sorry. I think even the casting was disrespectful. Like they look terrible.
I right before we went live here, I just got done watching. Actually, not watching, but reviewing that Ana de Armas Chris Evans movie, Ghosted. I got about 20 minutes in, and I immediately gave up on that film. That was. So if you don't get the idea, it's the idea that Chris Evans is a 40-year-old slub who finds a hot girl at a farmer's market. They have a one-night stand, and then she doesn't call him back. So he decides he's going to go all the way to London to find this girl because he's smitten with her. And it turns out she's like a secret agent or whatnot. But the story is basically they took the story of a girl who has a one-night stand with a guy and then he doesn't call her back and just flipped the gender roles entirely, and then that's the movie.
So she's pulling him around.
Yeah.
And all these adventures. He's like, this is so crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's a female version of James Bond with a stalker.
Yes.
All right.
It sounds fun. Sounds fun.
And the funny they tried to soup it up by saying, "Hey, at least 3 million people watched at least 1 minute of this movie." Yeah, that's all they could take was 1 minute.
What streaming service is that on?
Apple Plus.
Oh, okay. I may have to check it. I mean, it sounds interesting.
No, it doesn't.
It
Jane.
kind of does. She turns out to be a spy. I mean, that's kind of cool.
I sometimes
You're-
forget you're a woman.
Jane is quickly
Look, you know
taking.
what? I'm traditional, so it sounds romantic. I like Twilight. Okay.
I mean, I
Talking
did.
thing.
I mean, I haven't watched it like 30 times.
Jane is quickly stealing Lisa's gimmick for bad takes right now. I'm just throwing it out there.
Who's Lisa?
Lisa. You ever see? Okay, I'm sorry. Weird Science. You
Yes.
don't even have a license, Lisa. No, anybody? Anyways, I'm old. Yeah, Twilight. Yeah, my wife sometimes says I have the taste of a 16-year-old girl when it comes to TV and movies. I like
get that.
vampires. I'm sorry, I like vampires.
Dude,
No,
I
those
think
movies were
the
not
last
that
fight the last fight was so good
And
and,
then
it was
they ruined
wasted.
it.
Yeah,
ruined
because
it.
it was a daydream.
Yeah, it was like that could really happen.
Yeah, but those of us who read the books thought it was really cool because it wasn't in the book.
Oh, so wait a minute.
Well,
So
I mean,
how
I
does the
didn't read the
book
book.
end now?
The book ends the same way, minus the dream of the big fight where everybody
So
dies.
it's an actual real battle.
Yes,
Okay, who?
but just nobody dies because
Oh,
only the
well,
none of the
then
good
So
it's
then
people
it
not
die.
wasn't a battle.
I mean, it wasn't exactly the same. It
Did
was
they have
like,
flags? Like, aha, I got your flag.
yeah, it's West Side Stories.
You're dead.
Yeah, that was great take there.
Nuh-uh, I get to respawn on my brother.
No, they look dead, but don't worry because they sound like porcelain when they crack. But if you don't burn them, somehow you can, epoxy their heads back on.
Quick,
Yeah.
get the Gorilla Glue.
Get the Gorilla Glue, please. Buffy is fantastic. Keely, Buffy.
No.
I like the movie with Luke Perry and Christy Swanson.
Oh,
And
I forgot all about that.
a great movie. That movie.
Sure, I've seen it. I don't remember.
So because they got away with it in the Buffy series, but she feels PMS pains when vampires are near. That's how she could tell a vampire's near. She gets cramps and stuff.
Oh Jesus!
Yeah. She's Buffy. Okay, she overcomes it and beats the shit out of them.
See, when you mentioned Echo being set in silence, I thought of the silence episode for Buffy. Because that was kind of cool. They went 21 minutes with not a single sound.
Yep. Yeah. See, that would be interesting. Now do 12 episodes.
It could.
There you go.
It could be. They don't have the skill to pull it off. I think it actually could be a cool concept. Actually,
It could.
It'd be interesting.
You know what's not a cool concept? Ezra Miller in the Flash movie.
Oh no!
Yeah. Inside the Magic reports that the Flash movie slashed in half as Ezra Miller tanks DC movies. Now,
Who could have seen this coming?
Can I give the spoiler now?
Please do.
All right, spoiler warning. If you don't want to know a cameo in the movie, we'll give you 5 seconds to turn away. Turn away.
3. Oh,
It's
5,
Nicolas Cage.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Nicolas Cage comes back as Superman, like he was supposed to in Tim Burton.
Yeah.
So sad because I'm going to actually go see the movie now just for
Yes, that won
Yeah.
me over.
I mean,
I
if
was-
it,
I was
is it just a
outside.
cameo or is he
Yeah,
actually?
it's just a cameo.
Oh,
I mean, I don't know how
that's
much,
actually
but
kind of cool.
I was listening to someone talk about it outside, and as soon as they said it was Nick Cage, I went yes, and I came back in. My girlfriend was like, "What are you yesing out there?" I'm like, Nick, and then I had to go through the whole reason why it's awesome that Nick Cage is going to be in it.
Yeah, that is kind of cool. So there are quite a few cameos, right? While he's running through the universe.
Yeah,
right?
according to Chris Gore, there's so many cameos. He saw the movie in IMAX that he couldn't catch them all on the screen.
So are they like? Do you think they're going to be like the Doctor Strange, where they're falling through different dimensions? We're going to see it as he's in the.
Oh yeah,
I think there's going to be a lot of that because he mentioned a lot of them were so fast you could very easily miss them. But it's pretty much any rumored casting you've ever heard of in the last 30 years is in this film.
Wow. All right. Well, the Flash DC movie is in trouble as Ezra Miller's erratic antics have finally seemed to catch up with Warner Brothers Discovery's promising new film.
In other words, they couldn't bullshit the controversy away.
Yeah, pretty much. That's pretty much. In January, newly installed DC Studio co-CEO James Gunn announced the first slate of the refreshed DC universe, so it's now the DCU, taking over from the DC Extended Universe, which was the DCEU. Just for you slow people out there. That began a decade ago with Cavill's Man of Steel. From lackluster crossovers like Batman v Superman and Justice League to surprise box office hits like Aquaman, the DCEU never really found consistent footing with audiences. No shit. This is why in 2023 the DC will reset everything with one of the greatest superhero movies ever made, The Flash 2023. Will debut this June and we'll see the return of Ezra Miller as Barry Allen. The DC movie will also welcome Sasha Calle as Kara Zora L, Supergirl,
Who
and
looks more like Superman than Superman.
actually right. And it's like,
I mean, have you seen her pictures on Instagram recently? She looks like she's about to come out as a they, them / he, him. So
yeah, I
That's
just don't,
probably what's about to happen.
and why? Okay, why does Supergirl have to be masculine? You know, they kind of did it in the cartoons recently, and it's like, what's the need for that? You know?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense because if your all your super strength comes from, oh, this sun is different than mine. You know what I mean? You don't need muscles to go along with it. How would you even build muscle if you're already super strong? Where's the resistance to build muscle?
Right.
It's cool if it's on the guy though.
You also have to keep in mind that before Ezra Miller went Ezra Miller, they were when this film comes out during Pride Month, where they can celebrate the they thems and the he hims and the she theys and all that other stuff. Then he kind of ruined everything by being exactly who he is.
Right.
But the thing is, I can tell you why she has to be masculine, because the male gaze.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's the problem. They don't want her to be pretty and girly and feminine. Yeah. I'm surprised they're even leaving the name. I'm surprised they haven't renamed her to something else.
Just super.
Just super.
Just super.
Superist.
Yeah, superist. Superist. That's what her name will be.
Yeah,
for
they
now
don't
on.
want the attention on beautiful people to look at. They want it on the story because that's where all the focus needs to be.
Right. Exactly. Over the last few years, the Flash release has grown. Due to the erratic and illegal behavior of its lead actor, Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav was set to shelve the $200+ million DC film if Miller could not curb their antics. I thought there was a misspelling, but I forgot his name. I can't get used to this shit. Antics that included the film filmed choking a bitch over a dispute, the throwing of a chair at a bitch, and other violent behaviors in Hawaii. If she was
she caught it with her face. So
well, she should have got out of the way.
Not to mention breaking into somebody's house in Vermont.
Yep.
That Waffle House gal caught the chair flying through the air. So.
Oh yeah. What about taking? Being like a guru for young girls. And the confusing relationship with, this is it, Takeda Iron Eyes, a relationship where Miller received allegations of grooming and kidnap, even using social media to bait authorities looking for them. Was it them or him? It's
him. They're trying to confuse you by legitimizing his mental illness.
Yeah, was
we have to respect Ezra Miller's pronouns. No, we don't.
Yeah, I love Inside the Magic because they don't mind to try to keep it right down the middle and just report, but come on. Because
grammar lives matter.
That's important because when they say them, are they talking about he was baiting authorities about himself being like, you can't get me?
Yeah.
Or about him and her being together, you can't get us?
They should just use his name if that's what they're going to do.
Yep.
This is exactly what Ricky Gervais was mocking last year. It's like, well, what if he rapes me? What if they rape you?
Yeah, exactly.
Bigot.
Exactly. The only comic-based show I've seen since Hellboy was WandaVision. I hate it. Yeah, me too, buddy. And good to see you, Red Shirt. And so as The Flash speeds towards its debut, it has been relatively quiet on the Miller front. Warner Brothers has kept the actor behind closed doors. It's like Biden, opting to use trailers and teasers, primarily featuring other cast members like Cal and Keaton to promote the work, with early reviews calling it a hit and huge endorsements from the fan favorite superhero movie director James Gunn. The Flash may still be a hit for DC Studios despite Miller's controversy past that. Whatever.
Yeah, but then the prediction or whatever, the box office shit was cut in half today.
Right, from 140 to 70, right? Which is the slash in the title. Yeah, so early predictions was a 140, and now it's in half. So new figures via source, The Hollywood Reporter, revealed that The Flash is now tracking at 70 million domestic. That's pathetic for a superhero movie.
Yeah, well, a couple of things. One, this entire marketing strategy that they've had by let's focus everything on Michael Keaton so people forget that Ezra Miller is in the movie. So people, like, all the trailers of this makes you think that this is actually a Batman movie when it's absolutely not. And then second of all, this whole idea that, you know, the whole DCEU is just dead at this point. I mean, it's like nobody wants to watch this. People were talking about a few months ago how terrible Black Adam did. Didn't Black Adam almost do like $400 million? I mean, considering what the last couple of films have done since then, people are gonna be looking at, wow, actually Rock was kind of a bigger draw than we gave him credit for, because all these other projects are just completely bombing right now.
But see, that was the company using the media to push the Rock out. If he wasn't going for like a power move, I think they would have praised him for the movie.
But here's the thing, though. They're blaming him for the power move. It's like, okay, well, everything else you guys put out since has flopped and fell right on his face. So maybe you should have just gone with The Rock and did the Rock Henry Cavill thing like you wanted. Maybe you actually would have gotten some interest, because what you're doing now sure as hell ain't working.
Who is this little boy with CGI tits?
Yeah, what is that? That's her?
That's her.
Yeah.
Well, Chris Gore said she had a nice ass.
No, you know, that could be.
Just trying to help.
You sure that was her, or like a butt double or something like that?
Right,
Like
right, some dude.
Exactly.
It's like every girl has to be a 12-year-old boy.
Right, and they have to have like a boy's haircut and, you know, look like a board. At least, yeah, you see a boob there. One.
Well, I mean, for someone who's had long hair for most of their life, I mean, I understand why Supergirl would want to have a short haircut or a constant ponytail, because
Right.
flying
Shave it
around
off.
with the hair in the face.
Yeah, but don't forget she has
Oh, wait.
super hair.
Yeah, you can't cut it.
Or they could give her a girly haircut, but they don't. They cut it specifically like a boy. That it's just,
Yeah.
it's so.
Well, you're speaking as someone who's not trying to subvert our society, so. Yeah.
Well, Doe Buffett
She looks
said,
like a dude.
yeah, didn't the Flash cost like 300 mil after all the reshoots?
Yep.
So that's
She
crazy.
looks like Avi from Yellow Jackets. If anybody watches that show,
I have, yeah, she kind of does, or Elliot Page, or Elliot.
Well, give it a few months, she might be Elliot Page.
Right, and she's going to defeat Saad because, you know, she has to. That's bullshit. I'm sorry. That is bullshit. I can't even, you know, it's I don't know. It's ridiculous. Ezra Miller, I feel like, is getting away with things he did, like, who said it was a Boosh? Somebody said, you know, above, like, he broke in, he had a gun, he threatened to kidnap the kids, but yeah, it's, you know, but no big deal. Let's not even report that part.
Nope.
The guy's unbelievable. Looks like a young Karate Kid. She does.
There's a lot of things you can get away with when you're a they, them.
What do you got going here?
So it's funny because this was kind of before Ezra started, you know, choking people out in foreign countries and throwing chairs at the heads of women and stuff like that. And this was from like 2017. This is what I had saw back then, and this is my first indication that, oh no, this guy's a problem. But this was back at the time where you couldn't question people based on their they themness, so everyone just ignored all the red flags. But you tell me if anyone could have possibly seen this coming just by watching this video.
I'm really into like the idea of the turning of the tides and how the last couple thousand years of human history have been so male dominated in a way that has not always served us. Clearly, here we are on the brink of destruction. And so I wonder if you would say something for me. Would you say into the camera, heteropatriarchy, your wrath upon this world is over?
Oh my God.
I want it so bad. Heteropatriarchy, your wrath upon this world is over. Heteropatriarchy. It's like straight men ruling everything.
By the way, a body language expert can go through this video for like 4 hours.
Yeah, she's just disgusted right now.
So like I really don't want to do this, but there's also a camera on me, so how do I get out of this?
Yeah.
Heteropatriarchy. Heteropatriarchy. Heteropatriarchy.
I'm just gonna say.
Yeah, you do your thing. You find a way.
Misogynist, sexist.
Yes.
Your wrath upon this world is over.
I wish she said that to me.
That was the greatest moment in my life. There you go.
Like, let's please move on to the next question.
Yeah.
Well,
And-
did she also have issue with the fact that like Ezra was in her chest for like hours during the filming of one of the scenes?
Right. He was like laying in it because they kept doing that over and over because he
and
messed
over and
up.
over.
Yeah. You know, and what she did was right there was kind of genius. She like, no, it's not just hetero white males. I'm not saying that. I'm saying this group of people. So it had no race, no nothing. It was just misogynist. You know,
Yeah.
like she did her best.
People who have a particular attitude.
Yeah, who could have possibly told that guy would, cause problems down the line? Who could have seen that coming?
Yeah. Mr. Tickletrunk says Gal wants to crawl out of her skin. She really does. She really does. It's ridiculous.
She should have just not interviewed with him.
Well, they had to because they were promoting the Justice League movie, so she probably didn't have a choice.
Right. Script says the irony is that man is telling a woman what to say. Script, feel free to jump in if you're not watching the movie yet. You're in the chat.
And you know what's funny is that's so consistent with a lot of what we're seeing out of the trans activists in their movement as well. It's they're constantly trying to tell women, actual biological women, what to do, what to accept, what's okay to say, and it's like no, what you're doing is misogyny.
And the scary and what's even worse, Jane, is they're getting violent towards them.
Very.
You have that swimmer, the 22-year-old, 23-year-old biological female swimmer who tied the transgender female in a race, and they gave him the award because reasons. And she fought out against that. And at one of the colleges she was speaking at, they literally trapped her and kept her hostage if she didn't pay. Like, that's nuts. What up, Script?
Hey, how's
The
it going,
doctor is
everybody?
here. What's up, man?
Oh, I'm just my girlfriend's taking a shower before we have movie night, so I'm bored.
Nice. Always jump in when you're bored, buddy. That's most people do. I
That's what it's
appreciate
for.
that. Yeah, that's what the dump is for. If you're bored, you got something to watch and talk about. Jen's not bored for $20, and I'm going to read this and the one she put on Rumble last week for $20. So thank you, Jen. But don't think his career is over, no matter how the movie does. Yeah. I mean, do you guys... Okay, that's a question. I'll ask you first, Script. Is Ezra's career over? Maybe in the DCU.
With
but
Warner Brothers, it's over.
okay. You think
he'll get
Hollywood
another
will?
chance. He's still part of the club. They'll give him another chance once the heat dies down.
Someone will, yeah. Some studio will, but right now Warner Brothers has lost a lot of money on this film, for his actions, especially last year, because that's when they were originally planning to debut it, and they had to delay it because of his recent allegations. And then the other aspect is that he's never. Even with The Flash, he's not leading this movie, really. I mean, he's got an ensemble cast of supporting characters, and that is your biggest red flag when it comes to a superhero movie where their debut feature film has less about them and more about all the other characters people have liked previously.
Yeah.
It basically says like, oh, we have no faith in this character, so we're just going to pack it with all the other ones. We're going to try to, Captain America Civil War it, or Spider-Man No Way Home it. Even though Spider-Man No Way Home was a reaction to the announcement of The Flash and Michael Keaton and other people supposedly participating in that film. So it's going to be crazy. And this is a movie that's been in production since 2016. It was in production while Justice League was being prepped for theatrical release. That's a very long production time. That's a very long budget, and the amount of reshoots they've done. This is. Even if the movie grosses $1 billion at the box office, Warner Brothers will not have made a dime off of that because they've spent so much money, pre-production, production, post-production, marketing, remarketing it again. Because again, they were dropping trailers in 2021 to prep for this movie, and then they had to push it back again and again and again. And this isn't a reset film. This is just a regular DC movies. This is Walter Hamada's thing. The official reset doesn't come with Superman until Superman Legacy. That was from James Gunn's mouth. So
right.
It's funny too, considering how we got here. It's like this was the same studio that housed both Amber Heard and Ezra Miller for many years. That somehow the only people they throw under the bus is Henry Cavill and The Rock. So
Well,
good
it's not the
decisions all
studio
around.
that housed those two. It was Zack Snyder. He brought them in, and the studio has had multiple head changes since Zack Snyder. Remember, it was Kevin Sujihara from 2013 to 19. Then after that, it was Ann Sarnoff, and then when you're looking at the people for DC Films, because that's what it was before anything. Prior to Walter Hamada, you had you had oh crap, what was his name? John Berg. John Berg was there for a while, and then prior to John Berg, you had Jeff Johns, and then you also had Charles Rove, and those are the people that they kept on losing their jobs because of the failure of those DC films, and yet at the same time, the reason those movies kept on failing is because even though the heads of that studio were being replaced, they were still hiring the same people that were making the bad movies.
Right. Well, I want to say this first. Zack Snyder has no affiliation with Sporking News podcast. We're evil. But was it him that, like, because there was always speculation and there was a lot of sources out there saying that Emilia Clarke was going to take over the role for Amber Heard, all this stuff. Was it him really keeping her? And were there any actual, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, creditable, was that a credible source telling us this? Like, did that really happen? People wanted to kick her out, but he kept her there?
The fact of the matter is that Zack Snyder doesn't use casting directors. He does the casting himself, and he makes the negotiations himself. And so the contracts that he had with Amber Heard for that character in that role secured her. So that to the point where, what are they going to do? They're going to throw good money after bad and recast her in a film, or because we have a brand new owner of Warner Brothers, and they have their own direction they want to take with the studio.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, yep, we're not going to continue this 10 years of huge investment with zero return. So, okay, we're not going to reshoot the thing. We're just going to keep her in there and then just write it off, essentially, and write it off in a different manner, basically meaning that, yeah, we'll release the film, we'll promote it as best we can to try and make as much money as we can after it. But once it's done, it's done. We don't want to go back to it. We want to leave it away,
Right.
let it die. Let it go the way of Highlander 2, essentially, where nobody makes money off that film, even if it gets resold into other streaming services or distribution. That's what they're looking for here. And only if they wanted to invest in Aquaman and continue it, would they have actually considered, pulling the trigger and just completely writing out her character or replacing her 100%.
Well, because actually, did Aquaman 2 come out yet? I don't even know.
No, it comes out December.
Okay, because I know nothing about that film. So I thought this movie was going to be like at the end credits, they showed the rebooted version of what may happen. I guess that's not actually going to happen, The Flash, because you also got Aquaman coming out after that. But you haven't heard a peep about that movie recently, have you? Has anybody?
Other than the fact that
What
I think
is
it's
there to
still
talk
going
about?
Yeah, there's going through test screenings, but they're also trying not to make it dull down the hype that they're trying to generate for The Flash.
Right. So after that, they'll start pumping it up.
Oh yeah. Well, first they'll do Blue Beetle. They'll be pumping Blue
that's
Beetle.
right. Yep.
And then after Blue Beetle, they'll be pumping Aquaman. I think we'll probably see some significant trailers dropping around Memorial Day in November.
Here's the problem, though. It's like if Flash bombs, which is look like is going to, with the numbers that are coming out now, like you have to accept the fact that all these DC products are basically lame ducks at this point. Like if you're not going to get anyone to come out to see Michael Keaton's return as Batman in the Flash or whatever Shazam 2 was supposed to be, it's like how many people do you really expect to go see Blue Beetle? And then Aquaman 2 is like you've already told people that, hey, Jason Momoa is gone because we're rebooting this whole thing. So what's the draw there for audiences to go see any of these films? Because everything that they've heard is that, well, it's all over now. None of this stuff really doesn't matter because James Gunn's rebooting it all. So why should I go watch it then?
Well, I mean, that was a question a lot of people were asking after Man of Steel, which is why should we go watch these sequels? Because the first one was so dark, dour, and dehumanizing to the character.
It really was. Jane, I like, you have a valid point here. Mel Gibson. What did Nicolas Cage do? I don't remember his.
All of them were the ones who got arrested or whatever for attacking their wives or girlfriends.
Okay. All right. And Mel Gibson did some.
Nicolas Cage attacked a spouse.
Mhm.
I see. I don't
I
remember
don't
that one.
that.
That
I
must
remember
be-
he had a whole bunch of tax issues.
Yep.
He thought he was Elvis for a while.
Yeah, he thought that he could just like buy an island and other random. Didn't he try to buy like a pyramid at one point? Then wasn't that a thing?
That was a thing they
No,
said.
he did buy a Triceratops skull.
He what?
Oh, well, there you go.
Something. Yeah, he bought like a dinosaur skull.
Look,
I
all
know
these Hollywood people are weird.
they're all whacked. They are.
A lot of them, yeah, a lot of them are.
They really are.
But they do get second chances. I think the problem with this guy is that he's going to get worse because it doesn't seem like there have been any actual consequences for what he's done. And if it continues in that way, it's like we've said before, if somebody doesn't stop him because he's also, it seems, mental, he's probably going to seriously hurt somebody at some point. He is completely out of control, and no one seems to care
Yeah.
what he's
Well, we
doing.
haven't-
Anytime you choke somebody in front of a camera, like that's the difference between him and pretty much every other case.
Right,
He's
'cause-
done it in public in front
Right.
of people.
Yeah,
And
it's
he
not
knew.
an angry voicemail.
Yep.
The other part too is that he hasn't been seen or really heard of in almost a year. It's almost to the point where he's probably strapped down to a bed somewhere, being fed intravenously, just so that this film can actually be
Dude, I've been calling it for months now. It's going to happen. You're going to get that Ezra Miller Good Morning America interview where he finally tries to come clean and confess to all his crimes that he's been committing over this last year in a last-ditch effort to get people to be like, okay, well, he said he's sorry now, guys. We can go watch his movie.
Yep.
An apology tour from Hollywood is as genuine as anything else coming from that world.
I don't think he could even get through it. He could barely get through his plea. He seems like he's completely unstable.
Well, it shouldn't be a live interview. It should definitely be pre-taped.
Or just let the AI take care
It'll
of
be
it.
deep fakes. That's what it'll be, because
Yeah.
if they pre-tape it and they have to cut around his craziness, it's going to look like that Simpsons episode where the hard copy was making manipulating Homer's interview so that he sexually harassed the babysitter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the wall clock on the behind him is going to be changing times rapidly between all the words.
Right. Real quick, guys. So, Mr. Tickle Trunk on Rumble, for $5, said, "Oh my God, I'm a liberal and I'm on Rumble for Scott's stream. I feel like a vampire walking into a church." He also, thank you.
Just wait till I find out you're there.
Yeah, right. Mr. Tickle Trunk also for $2. It doesn't burn so much as itch. Thank you, Mr. Tickle Trunk. I really appreciate it. I wanted to show this. This is from it's from fandomwire.com. And they're talking about the Flash end credits. So they're speculating. Let me first say the title is Crime Pays. Snyder fans demand a total ban on James Gunn DCU for keeping Ezra Miller on board, shutting down Snyderverse in the Flashpoint post-credit. Now, this is pretty much what they're talking about. There's speculation that the post-credit scene of The Flash must have been changed multiple times. Initially, we all heard the rumors, we did, that the post-credit scene would reference Henry Cavill's Superman and also bring Sasha Calle's Supergirl as well as Michael Keaton's Batman into the Snyderverse. And also I think Wonder Woman was, Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman was in there. Basically fans theorized that the film will continue the universe Zack Snyder began with the Man of Steel, even if it was through a soft reboot, but over time, the management of Warner Brothers changed when they merged with Discovery. The creator of DC Studios under WBD meant that for James Gunn DCU to exist, Snyderverse had to go. So what they apparently did, and this is somebody sourcing this, a film scooper by on Twitter, I can we get toast, or at can we get toast. I just did that. I did. Apparently the new post-credit scene of The Flash will do just that. It seems like the scene will also confirm that Ezra Miller who's all these controversies, will continue as Barry Allen.
Nope.
He says, well, I'm just going to put what he said. Hashtag The Flash's finalized end credit scene shows Arthur and Barry talking in a bar about Batman, seemingly putting an end to the Snyderverse. I don't know if that means he's going to stay there. Like it means
he would have to have some serious dirt on somebody in Hollywood if they actually keep him around after this film comes out.
Yeah. That would be so stupid.
Like that has to be, he has to have like some Kathleen Kennedy level of protection at this point if he stays around.
Well, I don't know if this would be a good idea for James Gunn, but wouldn't it be smart? I know he's a little bit older now, but I think they're about the same age. You end it with him disappearing, and it's actually the Barry Allen from the TV show that just ended, and let him be in the movie. I don't know.
Well, first of all, Hollywood's perspective of Grant Gustin is that he's not a very good actor. That's why he worked for CW.
Understandable.
Ezra Miller actually has accolades. Even though I despise him, he does actually have legit accolades.
Oh, hold on a second. They're giving a complete nobody 6 episodes of Echo on Disney Plus, but they won't give the guy who's been playing the Flash like the last 15 years his still on the movie because he's not qualified enough. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the thing is with Echo, it's a minor investment, and it's a L-list character. The Flash is technically a B-list character, and again, you're talking about the CW, a network that has never made any money, a network that managed to produce and pay for its shows by selling them advanced to a foreign market for 3 or 4 times what its actual value was, and then resulting in those markets questioning future deals to the point where now CW over the last few years has literally not been able to sell shows at that value again, and thus Warner Brothers was able to part with them to another production company that has agreed to take it so long as they just take on the debt for basically $0. That says legions of things with that.
So I have a question. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, just to wrap it up. Also, the only instances aside from Star Trek where the cast from the TV series transcended to the feature films would maybe be the X-Files. I can think of a franchise at least as big as that. I can't think of many others that accomplish the same thing, and that's usually because with TV, it's a whole different world.
Was the Twin Peaks movie at the theaters, or was it only on television?
I think it was only on television, the Twin Peaks specials, because that was like a 3-part thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you think if the movie makes a ton of money, like it's just successful beyond anyone's imagination, that they'll keep him on despite the risk?
It would have to break $4 billion at the box office for that to happen. Literally, like it really will, because the amount of headaches that kid has put Warner Brothers through is maybe 4 times as worse as what the whole Snyderverse has put Warner Brothers through, because they were expecting Man of Steel to do better than Iron Man in popularity and in box office, and it kind of didn't really. Warner Brothers was caught with their pants down because they had just completed the Dark Knight trilogy while the MCU was starting. And Nolan did not want to expand on his trilogy to other characters. He was brought in as a producer, technically in name only, for Man of Steel, but also he was trying to distance himself from superhero films because he never wanted to do them in the first place. He wanted to do James Bond, and he wanted to do science fiction stuff. And that he managed to get out of those future productions after Man of Steel because he facilitated that, and he just wanted to kind of have it ended, and that's what he did. And Warner Brothers saw the reception. They're like, "Oh man, well we thought with the Superman we would be 3 or 4 steps ahead of Marvel by this point because Superman, and instead we're now 4 steps back." And they put out an assignment asking for anyone to pitch them a follow-up film to be a companion to Man of Steel, to Man of Steel 2 technically at the time, so that they can catch up to the Avengers, which had just dropped the year before. And Zack Snyder actually pitched Batman v Superman. Well, he pitched as Superman versus Batman initially. And that's when they made the announcement at Comic-Con. It was be Superman versus Batman. They got an actor to come in and quote Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns, which should have been the first red flag that this was going to be a bad movie, because Dark Knight Returns is a staple that Warner Brothers has, and a lot of other people who work in the industry have been hung up about for Batman because of how well it did in the 80s financially, and how it influenced Batman movie and Returns, and how the darker tone is where they go. And every single iteration of Batman since 1989 has always been trying to be more serious and more dark, and it's only ever produced the same kind of outcome, which is that, oh yeah, they're kind of good, we're going in the right direction, but you're going to hit a wall. And what happened with Batman v Superman? They made it super dark and super dour and obsessive, and it was a hodgepodge of 3 different stories, and it did not perform what they wanted it to perform. And yes, there's lots of arguments that studios were getting involved, but you have to remember that Warner Brothers, for the vast majority of its existence, has always been the auteur's studio. They gave their creatives, their writers, their directors, their producers a wide berth to do what they do, and that's why so many people loved working with Warner Brothers. But when Zack Snyder was doing his thing and the dailies were coming in and the studio heads were like, oh, this is actually going in the wrong direction that we need, they had to get involved. And Warner Brothers doesn't usually like to get involved in that level unless they think there's something very bad happening. And they were, time has now basically proven that they were right. Now, did their meddling really help or not? We'll never know 100%. I mean, the stuff that you can find of deleted scenes and whatnot for those films aren't really better, don't really improve the movies they have. So there's a little bit of ambiguity here. But again, the consistency is that of the people that were running DC, basically there was a new head after each failure of the film. And the first one to be successful at the head of DC Films was Walter Hamada, because under him he had Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and Joker. And now he's going to now he technically has he also had Shazam. Technically, he also has Shazam 2. He has Black Adam, which bombed, as well as Shazam 2. And now he's going to have the Flash, and he's going to have Blue Beetle, and he's technically going to have Aquaman. So those are all Walter Hamada stuff, and those are more output and have a better chance of doing a little bit more on the fan side reception things than the previous ones. And that's going to be a benefit to him, even though he's been fired from Warner Brothers. He's still going to be able to say, yeah, I was fired, but at least I got all these movies out. And when you put them all together, they probably have a better audience reception than the ones prior to his arrival. The other part you have to also consider for Warner Brothers history, since they're the ones that kind of started the feature film superhero genre in its glory, is that up until 2013, when Man of Steel came out, Warner Brothers had a 2-to-1 ratio of success versus mixed and failure superhero films. And from 2013 to 2020, from 2013 to 2020, that ratio flipped to 1 possibly good, well-received film and 2 mixed to negative bad films. That is almost unheard of, considering the fact that in 10 years they flipped their ratio that they had standing for almost 40. It's pretty crazy. So clearly the studio had a formula in place that worked, and they were trying to make that continue to work. And some of the people involved on the production side of things just were not able to jive with that. And now we got into this situation where they're saying we're cleaning house, we're resetting it all. Screw it. Start all over.
No. Fuck around and find out.
Pretty much. Yeah. And Scott is muted because he's
a boomer.
Man, what I just said was amazing.
No one heard it.
No one heard it. It's bad. But I keep seeing, like, the endings leaked, to the Flash, and it's going to be Barry and his dad. So I hit the YouTube channel. It's just dude trolling people, it's going to be rebooted. You can't imagine this guy staying on. That would be one of the dumbest moves in Hollywood history. I can't imagine it. I can't imagine it. It just has to start over. Just has to, go away. Sorry, Snyder fans. I don't mean any disrespect to them, but really, it has to end.
Cherish what you got. I mean, I would say that's.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. And you're never going to get it sold to Snyder, to Netflix. Warner Brothers would never break up their license over those characters for a Netflix thing.
No.
They would not be making money off of it. Netflix would. And where's the advantage to Warner Brothers for that? Who wins? Nobody. The only one who wins is Zack Snyder and his PR firm that helped make the Snyderverse, the Snyder Cut happen.
Right. That's it. And you know what? Again, I know a lot of people don't feel the James Gunn thing, but I'd like to see what he does. If it is, if he could do a Superman movie that brings back Superman, somebody who's positive, somebody who believes in morals and it was raised a good kid, and his dad doesn't tell him, maybe you should have let the kids all die. I'm looking
Maybe he
forward
saves
to
his
that.
father from a tornado instead of letting him.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
sucking.
It's like he could have done that and no one would have even noticed. But anyways, whatever.
Actually, even if he did, even if people did notice, it's Henry Cavill. He's twice the size of Kevin Costner.
Right.
And all he has to do is just stroll away from it with him over his shoulder like a fireman's carry. And it's like, okay, look at that. Clark saved him. He doesn't have to do it at super speed. He doesn't have to.
He really had time.
Yes, he had time.
He definitely had time. Like they kind of made it like he kept being like no for too long. That should have been like an instant thing.
Well, not only that, I mean, it's also a repetition of the Phantom Zone thing where, he could have ran and saved his father from the tornado, but instead he flies up and saves Lois Lane from the Phantom Zone. And it's still the same type of thing. It's a vortex that's sucking things in, and he's fighting against it. But it's like it doesn't hold any meaning because both are just set pieces without any depth. There's no connection to them. It's not like Henry I'm going to call him Henry because he wasn't really playing Superman or Clark Kent. He made no effort to try and stop or do anything for it.
Right.
And he didn't fail. And if he did and failed, and then we're put into a parallel thing where he's got Lois and he's trying to get away from the Phantom Zone and he succeeds, it shows that it shows a form of growth. But we don't have that because he never tried to in the first place.
Won't. I mean,
Wah, wah.
yeah, like I said, this whole thing is just on a complete box of cards already. It feels like they're trying to save it mid-collapse at this point. And it's like, just let it fall. Just let the whole thing fall.
Yeah. I like this one too. I'm more interested in Snyder's Rebel Moon. I'd like to see what he does with it. But that's that on that one.
Yeah, I would say
Any
that's
last
also
thoughts?
the misstep of possibly thinking that James Gunn is the right guy to do a Superman movie to start this whole thing off. Because like I said, if this film, the Superman movie he's working on, doesn't like be a big hit, like nothing else that's coming out is gonna hit at all. So
Correct.
Yeah.
This is make or break right now.
Yeah.
It really is. Like that trailer has to get like 10 million views within the first 20 minutes after it drops on YouTube type of thing.
Yeah.
and actually have likes.
And have great likes.
Yeah.
Good like to hate ratio type of deal.
Yeah, because I can see a lot of people wanting to see that trailer. I just hope they're not disappointed.
Well, you do know that you're gonna get the Snyder Bros with all their accounts disliking it just because.
Right. Yeah. You got to be
fine.
honest. It's going to happen, but you got to be honest. But moving on to the last topic of the night, because we have about a half hour to go. Jane, I should probably blow this up a little bit. I was able to see this because I wasn't following these guys, but I am now. Jane shared this with me. So it's the Gays Against Groomers, which is a big Twitter page account.
I love that acronym. GAG.
Right. Gag.
I think I met those guys in Orlando last year, if I'm not mistaken.
I definitely met. There is a guy in Orlando that he's on Instagram that I follow that I met down there who's big against groomers. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. Mrs. Nerdrotic introduced me to him. He's awesome, really good guy. He's one of those. He's one of those. I didn't mean it like that. He is a gay man against grooming of children, and this one says right here though, breaking. Target has lost $9 billion since we all called for a boycott against them for pushing LGBTQ plus clothing and products on children. $9 billion. We will no longer allow these companies to pervert our youth and groom them into the gender cult. Now, this is coming, right, Jane, from a group of gay activists. Mm-hmm. What do you have to say about it?
Yeah, I mean, I find their entire page interesting because they are really trying to make it perfectly clear to the general public that they don't agree with what the extreme trans activists are doing by targeting kids. Like their position is, look, keep kids out of this, like leave them alone. And so they have been really vocal about that and about this boycott.
Mm-hmm. Now, let me ask you guys, because like I know it took a little while for it to hit for Bud Light, but you lose $9 billion. That could change because it's stocks and stuff like that. It could change. This isn't $9 billion in sales. This is the stock really. What's going to hit them is sales.
And the thing, what's funny is that it immediately after this happened, like they immediately started removing this stuff from the stores.
Yep.
And what you're hearing in the media is, oh, it's terrorism. Oh, they're tearing up property. They're attacking workers, and that's why they're pulling it. And it's like, no, that's not why they're pulling it. That's not happening to any significant degree anywhere, or we would be hearing about people getting arrested. That's not what's happening. No. What's happening is families have decided that they're going to boycott Target, and they're sticking to it. Yep. And they're losing money, just bleeding out. And they had to take very quick action. That's why they're doing it. Because this boycott may actually stick.
And you know what? Alex has a valid point. Like, they've been doing this slowly since 2012, introducing things in Target like the common bathroom, things like that, where Target was one of those mostly suburban white females. People think of Target, but it's one of these things where everybody, wherever you are, you can shop at a Target. Target's was a decent store, but it's like you're pushing an agenda, and now they're trying to say, oh no, that was just in our Pride selection. No, these one piece bathing suits
in the
for
kids
tucking.
Department.
Yeah.
And that's the difference, is that they've been pushing things like the bathroom, but what they did back then was they came up with like an alternative bathroom, which was basically a family bathroom. Like, I don't even know why they put a label on it. It was just another bathroom.
Right.
But it was, the whole social, thing that they do where they try to promote it or whatever. But at the end of the day, nothing before now has so directly targeted children to where they had the clothing. And again, it wasn't just rainbows. It wasn't just sort of stylistically pro-trans. They had shirts with the actual words on there promoting this ideology. So it was a slap in the face to parents, particularly in the South, who tend to be more conservative, who are teaching their kids a different set of values. Amen. Basically saying, we don't care, we're going to go around you, and we're going to put this stuff in front of your kids. Yep. And the parents were just not having it.
And
did you see the other portion of the story? There's a second part of the story that didn't really get talked about much, but there was also I guess some kind of design for Pride Month that they were promoting. What the designer was like Alperfin or something like that. I'll have to dig it up here, but they were also doing like satanic designs with Pride Month as well, saying like Satan respects your pronouns and stuff like that. And that's also some stuff that was pushed in kids sections as well. So it was kind of a 2-point problem.
It was the designer, his satanic line, the one that was overtly satanic, wasn't in the store, but he is an openly Satanist designer. And they chose to work with him for some reason.
His merch is in the store though, Eric Carnell.
It is. His merchandise is, but they said it wasn't the overtly Satanist stuff.
No, yeah.
But he is.
Like, no, we tried to sell the more subversive stuff. We don't want to do the outright in your face stuff.
Right. And this what I'm going to show you guys real quick.
And one of the things that upsets me, though, sorry to interrupt, Scott, is
not at all.
They talk about the $9 billion in market value is all because of the boycott, and they're just neglecting to mention the $1.3 million they've lost in theft alone.
Right. Right.
Those are actual lost dollars, where the $9 million is in market value, not in sales.
Right.
But that $1.3 billion is in sales because merchandise was stolen.
And that's true. There has been a lot of that going on where certain large cities are losing big corporations like I don't know about a Target, but I know San Francisco just lost in one of their malls. I can't remember who just built a new thing in the mall, but they're leaving. This is the bathing suit. It's a one-piece bathing suit made for boys where they can tuck. And that's just what? Like, that blows my mind that you have the balls to put this in a store where it's like, I'm not being a bigot to people, but you're putting it in the children's section. Like,
yeah, wouldn't you want to put this in more like the teenagers puberty section so that when the boys get aroused, they have something to hide?
and maybe actually swim trunks. You know, not the
And
one
put them in the
piece.
trunk stuff because
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, maybe, but it is something where this is the first time. All right, Bud Light was the first time where the go woke, go broke, I felt like really it made a difference with a boycott, and that is because, like you said, Jane, it's finally not just nerds in their movies; it's parents protecting their kids.
Yeah, and a lot of the men, like we were talking about this morning, I think the Bud Light stuff kind of died a little bit because the dudes were just like, they're gonna drink whatever beer they want to drink. But when it comes to kids, I think people will take a very hard line, and that's why you're seeing so many laws being passed. Like, this is going beyond just simply boycotts. People are contacting their legislators and saying, you are going to do something about this, or you are not going to get reelected.
Yeah,
People are
I don't know if
taking
the
it serious.
Bud Light thing's gone away yet, because there's still guys
No,
that
it's
give
not.
Bud Light dirty looks whenever you see like one of their trucks pass by. So
put it
I
this
don't know if
way.
that one's washed
work-
away just yet.
I work with mostly blue collared, service guys, electricians, plumbers, welders, and they're done with Bud Light. And it's not even that they follow politics or they even care. It's just that they know if they drink Bud Light, people are going to rip on them. So they're done. That's
And
literally
there's
it.
well,
There's a
I mean, they were
store
going to
near
rip on
us.
them beforehand, anyways, because
Maybe.
Yeah, probably.
terrible.
What were you going to say, Tina?
There's a store near us that is selling a 20 case of Bud Light for $15 with a $15 mail-in rebate.
So it's literally, please take this.
Exactly.
Please.
Yeah. But on another note here, like I said, it's important to realize that, look, these companies knew exactly what they were doing. They're trying to back away from the backlash because they didn't think people would get as pissed off as they were, but they knew exactly what they were doing with everything. Target knew what they were doing. Bud Light knew what they were doing. There's just no, we didn't expect this to be such an outright. Like, you guys knew what you were doing. You just didn't expect it to get so much shit for it. But like I said, by next week, you're going to start seeing it from all these corporations. They're all going to start shoving the rainbow and the trans flag just all in your face. The advertisements are going to be absolutely insufferable. It's like, keep in mind, don't just throw Target and Bud Light under the bus. Every single corporation is going to do exactly what they're going to do in the course of the next month, and a lot of it will be targeted towards your kids. Just making notes of those corporations. They're not on your side.
That's the thing I'm looking at is I don't care what they do with adults,
Right.
but anything that's targeting kids is a no-go. Like, you are automatically boycotted for me.
Right.
And
Well,
I don't
I
even
mean,
do boycotts. Like,
they've
I'm
been-
not even that type of person typically.
Same.
But for this, no, we're just not.
Yeah, like I said, they've been saying here for the last couple of years that they're going after your kids, and a lot of people pretend like, oh no, that's not actually what they're. Well, it's no longer in the closet anymore. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
It's and again, like I feel pretty much the same way, Jane. It's one of those things where it's like if you're not affecting kids underage, then you're an adult. If you want to be someone who loves somebody of the same sex or somebody who has maybe a mental health issue and wants to dress like somebody, I don't care what you are, but don't shove it down my face because I believe something a little bit different. And tell me that I'm a bigot because I'm not allowing my kids the right to explore this, because children get confused easily. Children could be manipulated, groomed easily. And it's a lie to tell me that they know what they're thinking, they know what they're doing, and these people aren't trying to do that. You are.
Look, there's no such thing as trans kids. I'm sorry if that offends
No.
you or that upsets you. There's no such thing as a trans 3-year-old. Like,
No.
nobody's thinking about their sexual identity before they can read. Like, stop it.
Did you ever see
Yeah.
that one where the mother, she was like, my baby's, trans? It's like, you should not be allowed to raise that child. Mm-hmm. That's scary. And
Well, then that
here's-
gets into another dangerous part, which is you don't want the government regulating who can have and who can't have children.
But the problem is that they're going to do it anyway, because instead of say being like, well, we can't say who can have kids, they're going to just move forward by saying, oh, you don't want us to mutilate your kids? Well, we're just going to take your kids away from you.
Yeah.
You've already heard
Don't
people have.
consider it abuse or neglect not to recognize their pronouns.
You've already heard people say that, no, it's our job to raise your kids. You're not qualified to do our job, so just don't tell us what to do. It's like, we're already there, so.
And I liked seeing with the Dylan Mulvaney thing. It's not just guys who are boycotting it. There's women that are pissed off that a man who, it's a year of being a woman, who is like literally doing like a caricature of like a woman. He's
But it's
not
not even
living-
a woman. He's doing
No.
a caricature of a girl, and
Right.
that's
Just a
what
gay man.
Yeah, right. He's not playing like that was dude.
Stereotype.
Exactly. You're right. He did the like, okay, I'm going to make money off this. That's what I felt like. It was like an act. But here's last year's pride symbols from all these different companies. And you see
all the
lot of them are
corporations,
kids.
all the sports teams, all
Yep.
of the movie studios. Like I said, it's going to be insufferable this next coming month.
Yeah, they stole the rainbow. It's no longer a natural,
Yes.
beautiful thing
Yeah.
that happens after a thunderstorm. It's
this.
Yeah, the rainbow was God's promise that he wouldn't flood the earth again. And then, of course, they subverted that. Why? Because they're Satanists.
Yes.
Why wouldn't they?
Well,
Wasn't this also a civil rights symbol at some point?
Yes.
Well, after the fact, but
Well,
But
no,
it
yeah.
no. Like, wasn't
In
it
the
a Rainbow
60s.
Coalition or something?
Well, that
yes,
was
in Chicago.
yeah, that was oh God, he ran for president.
Al
Rainbow-
Sharpton.
No, not
Jesse
no.
Jackson?
Jesse Jackson
Jackson,
had the
yes,
Rainbow
you're right.
Coalition. Yeah. But again, you're absolutely right. Like, look, if people don't realize, like, if you're not Christian or you don't read the Bible, like, they did that for a reason. Jacob, you're absolutely correct. That was used because that was the covenant between God and man. That the rainbow was that covenant. And why not use it? Because it's all different colors. That's only why we're using it. No, it's an attack on Christianity, on Western culture. That's what I
well, like I
believe.
said, if you actually read the Bible, you realize that a lot of the stuff that's going on in our society is directly despite God. I mean, people can say, well, I don't believe in that. Well, somebody does. Let's just put it that way.
And that's what I mean. You might not. Somebody who is gay and loves they might not know that. It's the people that put the decided on this idea, or the people with the true agenda. They're the ones that
Yeah,
push
someone's
this.
doing this for a reason, whether you believe it or not.
Right, and that goes in all walks of life.
Yeah.
Mr. Tickle Trunk for Canadian $5.50. I've seen kids run wild in their birthday suits with not one care. Tucking your twig and berries is an adult concern. That's grooming energy. And that's true. Thank you, sir. Absolutely. Like, my kid has said to me, like, I want to be a boy. And I'm like, well, why? Because I want to be like daddy. Like, but now let's take that with somebody else who hears that at school. And in some states, they want to be able to have teachers do that without, push that without the parents being informed. That's a little terrifying to me.
Well,
like, what
that
they're
also
trying
comes
to do.
down to the culture with regards to schools, whether it's public or charter or private, is that the kids are spending 8 hours a day with that teacher and maybe a few hours after that with their parents. And so if parents are teaching schools and teachers like elaborate forms of daycare, then you're going to be impressing those opinions onto the teachers, especially the young ones, when they're being told, oh, you got to discipline my kid. I'm not around to do it. You got to do it.
Right.
And then when they
It's
do
grown
it,
from
the
there.
parent gets upset and says, well, you can't discipline my kid. And now they're back and forth, and to the point where, well, what do you expect for a young teacher who's being thrown these confusing things to say? It's like, well, clearly you don't know how to raise your damn kid. I've been
Right.
spending 8 hours with them. I know them better than you.
Right.
And
You
then
got-
that's where you lose control over everything. And that's where you get chaos.
Yeah, to a point, man. To a point. Some of it, they came into this job wanting to do it.
Some
In the
did.
last
I mean,
few years.
never trust a teacher that went from high school to teacher's college back to high school again.
Right. That's true. That's true, unless you're like a 15-year-old boy and you're like, what up?
Well, guys, you got to look at the positive of this whole thing. I mean, everyone's worried about where we're going with the future, especially towards kids. Hey, the FDA just approved Elon Musk's brain chip, so don't worry about the future, because in a few years, you won't have the ability to worry.
Yep.
Yeah, he'll download everything you need to know via brain chip.
So we have Juan Wong with a Australian $5. I beg to differ. The level of immaturity and baby-like behavior of trans activists show that they are the transum children. I mean, there are a lot of things that just you could have told me 5 years, 6 years ago, like what, like us, stripping transgender strippers in front of kids at restaurants. I wouldn't have believed you. I was wrong. in some areas. And the problem is they're going to towns. They're not from those towns. They're going to towns and doing this because they want somebody to react. That's what they're looking for. They want people to uproar and look like they're the bad guys. And it's a media thing too. There's a lot of, I believe, a lot of people working together to get certain movements going. And let's remember they're less than 1% of 1%. So it's something we have to keep vigilant on when it comes to our kids, and not just your nephews, your nieces, your cousins, whoever. Like, be vigilant. But we're gonna end that there. Any last remarks on that one, guys, or anything at all? There was one other thing I thought I saw. What were we talking about before? Backstage, Jacob.
The evil Longoria.
It might have been the evil Longoria thing.
Yeah.
We don't have to bring it up, but just quickly, another, racist remark from someone who says we're racist. That's how I saw it. What about you? What did she do again? It was like,
So she has an upcoming movie coming out on Hulu about the Mexican janitor that allegedly created hot Cheetos or something like that. And she's directing. And while she was promoting the film, she went on complaining about the fact that not enough Hispanic women are allowed to direct movies, saying that there's never been one before her, or they haven't been allowed the opportunity in like 20 years or something like that. So she went as far to say that only white men are allowed to fail with big budget movies, unlike women. So it's like,
she did say that. It was like only white man could get a $200 million movie and bomb and still get a chance at it. I think that's pretty much what she said.
All you have to do is point to Kathleen Kennedy.
Yeah, she's been killing it. She's been killing it. This was the one thing I wanted. If we're talking about this is what I was actually thinking of. The go woke, go broke thing. I think this is a company that we have to stop using. Personally, for me, if I have a campaign, I wouldn't use Kickstarter. They're suspending any campaign pushing back against transgender ideology. A lot of these companies are starting to do stuff like that, where content creators aren't allowed to, and I know they're private companies, so they're allowed to do that, but that means we don't have to use them also. So that's something to think about. Some of these campaign sites that like freeze money for raising for the guy who, the Marine in New York, legal fees and stuff like that. Just be aware of that type of stuff. What up, Brahma? But yeah, I don't know what else to really talk about tonight. I have to work early. If you guys have anything though, it's because I like this group right here. We got Jane, we got Script, we got Tina and Nomad, and we got Jacob. Anything you guys saw recently or want to just touch on?
Did y'all talk about the mermaid?
No, what's that?
oh, you mean that terrible
China?
Song with the Asian lady rapper who's not good?
Well,
Opportunity shouldn't be doing anything entertainment area.
has anyone seen the movie besides me?
Why is it out?
The Little Mermaid?
Yeah. I didn't even realize that. Shit.
And you have two girls at home.
Yeah, dude. We
They don't
watched the
wanna see
original. I mean, they've seen commercials, but they don't even bring it up.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't stop. I mean, like, that's one of those things where it's like I would watch it with them, and if they had any questions or anything, I would talk to them about it or bring stuff up. But no, I just know that China came out against Disney, saying they're ruining the Disney princess, and they really need to go back to it or something racist about it. But what are you bringing up? Did you hear anything?
My issue with it, well, there's so many, but
let him drop, Jane. Let him drop.
Have y'all seen the original movie?
In college.
Like the cartoon?
Yeah, the cartoon.
Oh yeah, like 300
So
times.
one of the things that I just sort of I disliked it when I saw it, and it's irritating me more that I think about it. Was the ending, how they changed that?
Yeah.
Instead of Eric sailing, the ship into Ursula and saving the day, it's Ariel who does.
Wait a
it.
minute.
Of course
Say
they
that
were
one
going to
more
do
time.
that.
Say that one more
So
time.
Instead of it being a pretty woman at the end of the movie, the knight rescues the maiden and the maiden rescues him right back, which is exactly what the Ariel original cartoon was.
Right.
She rescues the prince, and then the prince saves her in the end. And Jane can tell you what happens in this horrible version.
Okay, so what happens? She just rescues him.
It's reversed. They literally just flip the roles, and she somehow gets onto the ship, onto the wheel, and turns it, and then it just goes directly where it should. Hits Ursula at just the right angle. Just like,
Oh my god.
and if you remember when you watched the original movie, this is a strategy. Like, it's a
Right.
maneuver that he's employing. And we know that based on what we see in the beginning of the film,
Right.
where we learn that he's a very good sailor. So he knows exactly what he's doing, and he's very strategic there. So I went back and watched the original because I was like, this doesn't make any sense with what I remember. And in the scene, there's a pause, there's a moment where he's thinking about, how do I get this ship over there to save her? And what angle do I need to do? Like, what do I need to do? And then he takes action. With Ariel, it's just, she Mary Sue's her way through it.
So, like Steven says here, it's Ariel Skywalker.
Yes.
That's ridiculous.
Yes. Every
All right,
new girl is Rey now.
let's. I'm gonna bring this up real quick because Tina, Walton shared it with, and Tina.
My
grabbed
only
it.
question, my only answer to that is anyone surprised that they subverted the story there? Is anyone surprised?
No,
I'm
but
not-
in that part, it's
you
kind of
might
crazy
have-
that they could do that, right, Tina?
Well, no, I can believe that she could probably pull it off because unlike, I'm assuming Ariel here, at least this version, has far wider peripheral vision and has better to target and focus on.
Her
someone,
father's
because maybe Poseidon's, maybe Ariel's baby mama had a little bit too much ale during the laying the eggs part.
her father was not chunk.
Well, the
but
other part too is you have to remember that Ariel is the protagonist in her own story. And traditionally, protagonists are the ones that overcome the challenge and become victorious. They slay their enemy, so to speak. In the Little Mermaid cartoon, Eric is the one that slays the enemy for her, and it kind of usurps a little bit of her own arc. I think they could have done it a different way as opposed to being a very derivative where they just switch the roles. But if they had something in a case where Ariel does come into her own, faces off, whatever the fat squid's name is, I can't remember her name. I'm thinking Cruella, but I know it's not. Ursula, thank you. It faces off Ursula and slays her. With the help of Eric, that works out because again, Eric is essentially in the role of the damsel in distress in this type of tale, in the original and in the current one. That's where he is the love interest. He is the object of her affection, the thing of her desires. And traditionally in stories, the object of the affection, the object of desire, is not the one that does anything heroic at the end. They're the one that is saved and rescued. That is the role of that character, regardless of gender. That is that protagonist, antagonist, supporting, love interest, the Holy Grail, the Chalice, what have you. They have their roles. If there was, and I don't know if this is going to be in the live action part, but if there was something where Eric had a goal, which was to prove to maybe understand or has experienced a relationship with the mermaid people and trying to prove his value that humanity is worth a relationship between these species, and he was trying to reconcile this, and Triton was constantly refuting him, and it wasn't unless he slayed Ursula that came into case. Then you actually have a parallel set of arcs that coalesce into one moment. But I don't think that's the case that they had in this version of Little Mermaid. It's definitely not one that they had in the cartoon. And so you have to say, okay, well, maybe they had the right idea in concept, but because they did a derivative execution and they just literally switched the roles physically into who did what, you're missing the whole point and value of what the protagonist is supposed to achieve in regards to their story.
Understandable. And with that, I mean, like what this Global Times, which I guess is the state-run media, I guess, for China, because that's what they're saying.
Yep, that is
Okay.
that. This is China coming back and saying, listen, all ethnicities have their own fairy tales, their own stories that they tell their children. So why does Disney have to continue to mine from the same well of old stories, but just change the ethnicity or the gender of the main person, and then say, oh, look.
I hate I hate agreeing with China right now, but they're right on this one. It's almost like they kind of started all this, and now they're like, let's play the other side. Even
China
though
Well,
is full
China's
of
losing
trash,
money.
and I don't care what they have to say about anything.
yeah, I'm kind of
Like,
with you.
stay out of American business, please. We
Right.
have this under control.
But they're
Well,
doing
remember-
both sides just to piss people off. Yeah.
China is losing money because Chinese people aren't wanting to see these movies, and
Right.
China takes a massive amount of the box office take of anything that's
Yeah, they
distributed
do.
in their country. And even though they don't like black people for whatever reason,
Yep.
and they do compel studios to change their advertising works to allow for that.
Yep.
They're also at the same time saying, oh, well, if you're taking these classic remakes and you're changing them all around and trying to sell them on the initial brand, even though you're reinventing it for this new one,
Right.
and people aren't seeing this, then we are losing money distributing this film in our country. And
Yep.
we want you to not do that anymore.
Well, it's funny how they're like the controversy surrounding Disney's forced inclusion of minorities in classic films is not about racism, but it's a lazy, irresponsible storytelling strategy, and it isn't about inclusivity or racism, because if it was, they wouldn't take out the gay kiss in Star Wars or the hug for China. They wouldn't put Finn in the background. They wouldn't, they wouldn't do the majority of things they do to change the film where they have it in the United States to a Chinese or even Middle Eastern view of it. Like they
But they're
take
not
things
making.
out.
But they're not make. That's completely inconsistent with what they're saying, though.
Yes.
They're sitting here acting like they would love to have some original, like
Right.
African fairy tales. Blah blah. No, you wouldn't.
No, I call
You would
bullshit.
never want to say that. If Disney produced 5 new fairy tales, all set in various parts of Africa, China would lose its mind. Like, please stop. They're
Right.
The
full
Prince
of
of Congo.
But
They would never.
They're doing this to cause, really what China's doing is doing this to rile people up that are sick and tired of it, because they know, again, I feel like they're one of the countries that pushed the crazy ideology the last 30 years in colleges and other places, and now they're like, ha ha ha, we're gonna sound like we're the voice of reason.
Yeah, we're
where
the sane ones.
you know that you're absolutely right. They would not have they would not allow that in their country. I
They
mean,
wouldn't. So Americans should, no matter what side of it you're on,
right.
give China the middle finger and call it a day.
I'm with you on that, even though I agree with some of the statements
Yeah.
they said, because they're using my feelings against me.
They literally use our words against them.
They really do. Absolutely. Absolutely.
You know what we'll do then? This is what we'll do, China. There are some stories about Africans ending up in Asia for various reasons, exploring, leading countries, armies, things. Let's just do a bunch of movies on that and see if y'all like it. They'll be original. They'll be authentic, literal, not forced diversity at all.
Right.
You kidding? Let's do a movie where a
that's all.
Chinese company goes to Africa to get their mineral rights. And there you go.
Yeah, let's do that.
Just buy half of Africa. Mr.
Which is
Tickle
what they're
Truck,
doing.
they really are. And in America, let's buy up all the farmland.
Yeah, I mean, there was actually some some articles talking about all these brown Chinese babies now being born all over Africa.
That was big after
That'd
the
be
Vietnam War
interesting.
too. In Vietnam, Tickle Truck for Canadian 550. Touchy teachers don't seem to be in the news now, but still, it's a huge issue. It's almost like we're scared to say teachers can be bad people now. I just think, yeah, they don't really report on that as much, and you know that's happening.
Most of
Teachers
the ones
simply
you hear of is the female teachers with the young teenage boys.
right,
That's what I remember reading a lot of.
right, but not they don't really even report that anymore.
Well, they're still covering for them. I mean, they're moving them around from school to school. That's why you're not seeing it. They're
And not
covering
telling
it up.
anybody either.
How big are the districts in the United States for them to be able to move from school to school and not know?
Well,
about it?
that goes into the whole problem with the teachers union too. There's a reason why these people are super hard to fire. So
Right.
Yeah.
Script, it's one of these things where the teachers union doesn't tell the parents, sometimes doesn't even tell the other school what this person did to get moved.
And they're not asking.
No, that's
questions.
not what I'm
And
saying.
they're
I'm
not-
saying like
right.
if you're in okay, so in Canada, a town will have access to 3 different school boards.
Uh-huh.
And you cannot move a teacher from one school board to another because it's technically a private business, so to speak. So how big is your districts to the point where a teacher can move from one district to another that's in the same school board and not have any parents hear rumors or stories of that teacher to another one? Like it has to be huge if
They're
they
not
have to get away from it.
necessarily. They're not necessarily different school board. I mean,
Right,
the same
same,
school board, because you can have multiple school boards in the same county.
And
Yeah.
in the same union. Yeah. So the county could be 6 different cities, you know? So it doesn't always work. It's not like 3 schools.
Yeah, in
one
Canada,
city.
from province to province in Canada, it doesn't work that way. Like if you get fired from one board, you cannot. It's very difficult to hire for another. And if you want to transfer from one to another, you have to go through the process from the bottom up all over again. It's you can't. You don't. Even this teachers union does not help you much moving from one to another on that. And it's if it's that strict in Canada, you'd figure, oh well, they're the same models essentially, but apparently in the United States it appears that's not the case here. If your board or multiple boards and unions are covering huge swaths of counties, then you can get a lot of people lost in that bureaucracy there.
Yeah. U.S. labor laws prevent companies as well as school districts from saying anything if they're called to verify employment beyond what they're confirming a salary in some states and beyond starting and ending dates. They cannot give their opinion. No, I'm just trying to say, so unless there has been a charge against this individual that was made known to the community, so where the community can spread the information, if you move to another part of the state, you're still licensed to teach in that state. There are no criminal charges against you. And if you've got enough friends from your community or former bosses that will be your personal references, then there's really no way for that new school district to know that anything happened.
Well, yeah, that's kind of standard across a lot of things where all you have to do, the only thing with regards to a reference is that, yes, they work for me. Yes, this is how much they pay. This is their end date. This is their start date. That's all you have to say. Anything more is personal choice and in most cases prohibited because it could become a conflict of interest. But the other part too is like, well, if you have not necessarily a charge, but if an accusation or an allegation has been made and that it results in the teacher moving, and you have basically social media the way it is now, the court of public opinion does have means to spread, and there are lots of parents that are in Facebook communities of various school districts and whatnot that talk about, oh, well, this is what my school is doing, we're teaching our kids, maybe we should have this program adopted here or what have you, or that we love this teacher, maybe they should be an example of whatever. You'd think that there'd be the reverse to be true, where it's like, hey, my kid just came home and they said this is what this teacher did, and it should spread like wildfire and virally. And if the teacher is moved discreetly, there shouldn't be a parent in that district that doesn't know about it by the time it's moved.
You would think so, but
you would think so, yeah.
Often that is just not the case. It's more akin to what we saw happening in like the Catholic Church, where something would be happening, the kids would be saying something, but nobody wants to take any action, and the person's just quietly moved somewhere else.
Well, yeah. Well, in the case of Catholic Church, they're taken out of the country and moved to another country. Rarely was it state to state. Especially in the 90s.
I would say in Chicago, the
Boston too.
The priest that took advantage of children in the parish that I grew up in, he just moved to another parish on the other side of Chicago. I mean, they didn't have to move to another country or even another state.
No, I remember hearing the country stuff was happening in the late 90s, early 2000s. They were just completely pulling them out.
Here it's not even that.
Yeah, they just.
Well, if you really want to ruffle some feathers,
think about how little so many adults care to protect children. It's really scary.
Yeah.
I like to say, if you really want to ruffle some feathers, I can start complaining about my issues with the Catholic Church, but we already hit the 2-hour mark.
Yeah,
so
we did. Thank God. Because I probably agree, but I don't want to talk about it here. But yeah, thank you guys, everybody. This is a great discussion. This panel has been awesome. Thank you so much. I love the people that join us. Thank you to Stephen Wallen throwing out everybody's links and everybody, all the mods out there. I love you guys. Thank you so much. Zombie Box Review, all you guys who are also channel members, I really appreciate it. Thank you for becoming a channel member again. And the super chats from Mr. Tickle Trunk and Jen and Juan Wong, and others. I really appreciate that. Is anybody working on anything they'd like to throw out there? You working on anything, Script, or is it all in the real world?
Well, I'm on strike, so I've got a Patreon, and I'm doing some screenplay reviews, just refining them before I drop them over there. Patreon does have a 7-day free trial for the basic tier, so if you just want to peruse it without forking over any money, which I'm perfectly fine with, there you are. There's also some other free articles on there as well for everyone to enjoy. Outside of that, yeah, just trying to keep busy. I peeked in on my girlfriend. She's applying her lotion skincare stuff right now, so we still got a few more minutes before showtime.
Yeah, Netflix and chill. All right, brother. Okay.
There's no Netflix here. I got the DVD.
Oh, gotcha. That's beautiful. Physical media show with Tom Connors and Fanzine.
Fanzine, yeah.
Yeah, dude, Fanzine. I love that dude. I haven't seen him in a long time, but I love his stuff. I like to drop in and watch stuff, and I don't always type because the phone sucks to type on, and then you have to say hi to all the people. And
don't use the phone for YouTube.
It sucks, man. It sucks.
Unless you're on a commute somewhere.
Yeah, like when I was doing work in the backyard, I was listening to Jane this morning and catching up with other ones. But you guys, thank you all. Tina, you're gonna finally have stream on your channel, or did you do that already?
Oh, I haven't done nothing on my channel, but I have 40 subscribers, so yay!
Woo!
Thanks everybody, and don't forget the Wednesday night Mad Stump is the best stream, because the best Scott stream is the stream without Scott.
That is the truth. That is the truth. I agree. Thank you, Tina. Jacob, you working on anything? Any articles?
Yeah, I got a couple articles that will be coming up. One with Ice Cube and a couple other ones that I got to catch up on. On Society Reviews, my site got a lot of movie reviews dropping over there right now. I still got like 2 more to write on top of the one I'm currently editing right now. Monday night, we'll be reviewing 3 movies. Little Mermaid, the Robert De Niro movie, I can't remember when this is called, and then Kandahar. Tuesday's Barroom, and then this Friday, I believe we're watching a little movie called Rock and Roll High School. It's a 1979 film. So I
remember that. Rock and Roll High School. What time do you guys start that on Monday?
On Monday, 9 p.m. on Monday nights, Eastern Time.
Okay, well, we start around 8. I think we're going to do hoping a Song of Ice and Fire stream this Monday night, doing some theories and talking about any news on House of the Dragon season 2. Hopefully we'll have, I didn't throw that out to Jane and all them, so I don't know if they'll be there, but hopefully they will. And we'll hopefully be back next week with a guest. If not, it's just an awesome group of panelists and the freaking best chat. Dude, you guys have been on fire tonight. Thank you so much. I hope you all have a good night. And if I ever talk to Mr. Grant Gregory, because we haven't been hitting it up, we'll start a new members ending, because I can't do that because I'm slow and sad. So we will end with this.
Oh my god! Oh my god!